Love Knots, 5 Languages of Love and Enneagram Test with Maria Romano.
So, how was your week? Just wanted to check in to see how our week was going. And you know what? Let me try to get in onto Instagram too, because we have some Instagram people out there and we want to say hi to them as well. So last week was my first debut for Monday Nights with Maria. And we talked about self-reflection, what you're doing for self-care. We also talked about things you can do for self-care, as well as writing your vision statement. And I started writing mine, and it has nothing to do with business. Writing a vision statement is the vision that you see for yourself. So it really opened up a whole new world for me. And I hope some of you, it did the same thing as well. So tonight, I'm going to touch base with you and talk to you about relationships. And yes, I know I talk about dating, right? But I marry people as well. And I also do talk about relationships. And the more you learn about relationships, you know what? Even if you're single, the better off you're going to be. Because you know what? There is nothing wrong with learning and growing and understanding. And when you understand and grow yourself and you start to understand the different personality types, what's going to happen is you're going to have a better understanding of how to communicate, how to relate to people. So let's talk about the different things you can do in your relationship. So I'm going to cover 2 things. I want to first talk to you about the 5 languages of love. Now, I don't know how many of you out there have heard of the book. It's been around for a while by Dr. Gary Chapman, and he wrote the book about the 5 love languages. And the 5 love languages that he talks about are, 1, the first language is people like to have touch, right? You might like somebody to tell you they love you, right? They appreciate you. The next one is you like to, not touch, I meant touch meaning hug. The next one is hearing. That's right. You want to hear verbally about that somebody loves you, correct? That's another, that's 2. The third one is gifts. Some people love gifts. I know there's a lot of people that love being cherished that way and shown that they are loved by gifts. The other one is spending quality time together. That's very important because that's how relationships grow. That's how you connect. And the 5th one is acts of kindness. And acts of kindness cover that, let's say you're very busy, right? And somebody helps you in your life. They do the laundry for you. They cook a meal. Or maybe you need help with the kids. Maybe they go wash your car. Maybe you have a project you're working on and they help you do that. So that's the 5 love languages. And this test is great. And the reason this test is great, you can go on to www.the5languagesoflove.com//quiz. And there's a couple of different types of quizzes. There's a quiz for couples, there's a quiz for teens, and there's a quiz for singles. So take this quiz. And what's great about the quiz is it gives you a better understanding of how you want to receive love. That's right, how you want to receive love. Because that's how somebody's going to touch your soul point, right? When they know how to love you. And also, when you're in a relationship or you meet somebody, have them take the test. That's right, have that other person take the test. And the reason for this is because then you know how the other person in your life wants to receive your love. So for example, if you take the test and you like to have somebody take care of you by providing acts of kindness, right? However, the person that you love wants to be told, wants to be touched. And if all you do maybe is give that person the type of love that you like to receive, you're not filling that other person's soul points. You're not touching them. You're not fulfilling them. And that's why it's important to understand how you want to receive love and how you're going to give love. And this is a great tool. And just as simple, it's a 2-minute quiz. And it's a great tool. It'll give you some great insight about you and about the relationship you're in. But now let's take this one step further. If you work around people, maybe you lead a team, maybe your children, whoever else you're living with, have them take the test. And let me tell you why. So, for example, if you're working around people, and especially if you're leading them, this gives you some insight of how they want to be told that they're appreciated. It's love, it's the same thing. And this gives you a great insight of how you can then treat certain people in your team so that they respond to you better because you're able to communicate and show your appreciation for them. The same thing if you have children. If they're able to take the test, then you can understand what they want to receive and hear when it comes to the 5 languages of love. So this is a great tool to use. I highly, highly recommend it. And just don't use it in your love life. Use it in your everyday life with people that are important to you. Because the more you know about somebody, you know what? You're going to just communicate better. You're going to be able to avoid some emotional spats. And that's what's important. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship or not in a relationship. It's important to know your love language. And also what's interesting, maybe some of you are saying out there in the virtual world, well, you know what, Maria, I've taken that test before. That's right. You may have taken that test before at a different time of your life when you have experienced different things. But as we continue on in life and our experiences change, so does our love language. So don't discount that you already took the test, okay? Take it again. And if you have somebody in your life, take it again. And this is, like I said, this is a great tool. It's a great opportunity to get to know yourself and to get to know somebody that you love or somebody that you meet and you're on the way to finding love together. So this is one great tool to use. Now, another thing I just learned about a couple of weeks ago, when I go jogging, I always try to listen to something that's motivational, that's going to feed me, because I'm always looking to grow. And I was listening to Brene Brown, Unlocking Brene Brown, one of her podcasts. And like, I don't know if I've told you before, I just girl crush Brene Brown. I think she is the bomb. And she had a gentleman on, and I don't remember his name, and he was talking about the Enneagram Test. Right, the ENNAGRAM test. Now, I don't know how many of you out there have heard of the test, but as she went on to explain it, Brene Brown just read the book not too long ago. And when she would be out talking to people, you know, she has a big following, people would shout out to her, "You must be a number 1. You got to be a number 3." And she'd say to herself, what the hell are these people talking about? What does she mean by number 1 or number 3? And she started, you know, as you know her, she peels those layers back because that's what Brene does. So she actually wound up eventually buying the book about Enneagrams. And then I heard, and this was a message that I had to share this with you before I get into the Enneagram, is after I listened to her, I was listening to Pete Vargas talk to Jennifer Allwood on Advance Your Reach Inside the Green Room. And she too was talking about the Enneagram test. And Pete had just mentioned that he had taken the test and read the book not too long ago. He was on vacation with his family before this whole pandemic situation happened. And he said it just opened up his world. It just gave him a better understanding about him and his wife and the people around him and his children and their emotions. So as I started looking at it, I started pulling up some research because also this test, and a lot of people use this test, people that are therapists, people, social workers like Brene Brown, that get into the minds and the emotions, and you know, anybody that's dealing with relationships. So again, this is still new to me. So let me just take a moment here. Okay, so this is a ancient tool. Somewhere it happened in Asia that they've created this tool. And it gives you a better gauge of understanding of who you are emotionally and the type of person you are and how you think. But also, this helps you in understanding people, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, or maybe out in your professional world. And this gives you a gauge of yourself, your emotions, the type of personality you are, and the people also that are in your lives that are very important to you or have a significant impact with your life. And the scale starts from 1 to 9. So we're going to just take a moment and we're going to just surface a little bit about the Enneagram. All right. So the first one, and try to figure out which one you are, because you can cross over too. You don't necessarily have to be all of a number 1. You could be a 1, you could be a 4 at times. You can go back to being a number 1. So number 1, the first one on the Enneagram test is called the Perfectionist, right? They also call it the Reformer. Are you a perfectionist? Are you the type of person that you are very idealistic? Everything has to be just so. You have to know it perfectly. You have to act perfectly. You have to do things perfectly. Everything needs to be on time, on point, right? And you are very much in control of your emotions. In other words, you never let them see when you sweat, right? That's the perfectionist. You have to ask yourself, is this you? Are you the perfectionist? And this is great. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes you have to pause and let go, because not everybody is like you. And that's what happens with the perfectionists. We assume everybody has to be like us. And we have to remember that everybody does things in their own time and up to their perfection, their standards. So number 1 is the perfectionist. Now, maybe you're number 2. Number 2, the giver, the helper, the enabler. Is that you? Are you the type of person that you're giving to people and you'll give and give and give and you're going to be there for them? That's number 2. That's called the helper. You're very caring, right? You're very interpersonal. You have great interpersonal communication skills. You're demonstrative. You're very generous. You're generous of your time, but sometimes you're so generous that you need to step back and pause and make sure you're taking care of yourself. So if you're a helper, that's great. You're out there giving, but you also have to stop and you have to regenerate or recharge. You are a people pleaser, but you're also possessive. That's right. So who in your world is a helper or the giver? That's number 2 on the Enneagram scale. The next one is the achiever. The achiever, guess what? They are very success and goal oriented. They're striving. They're always striving. They're striving for over 100%. That is the achiever. And they're pragmatic. They're very adaptive. They're very forward thinking. They're very, very driven. And they're so image conscious. Does that fit into you? Does that fall into the category of you or somebody in your life? That's number 3. That is the achiever. Okay, the next one is called the individualist. The individualist. So that means they're very sensitive. They're expressive. They're dramatic. They're true to themselves. They're true to who they are. Sometimes they're self-absorbed because they're always thinking, and they could be temperamental. That's right. They have a tendency of getting temperamental, the individualist. So, and which is great because they're very emotional, and they're good people that also help with therapy. They might be somebody that could be a psychologist, a therapist. So that individualist is, even though they're sensitive, withdrawn, they love being able to talk about emotions. And again, they like to dig deep and peel back that layer, that onion, and get to the sweet spot. So number 4 is called the individualist. Number 5, we all have those in our life, the investigator. That's right. How many of you have somebody in your life to say, well, how did you come to that? Tell me how you came to that decision. Tell me how you did that. They're very intense, very cerebral, right? They think with their, they think with both sides. They're very perceptive. They're innovative. They're also secretive and isolated. That's right. So, how many people in your life, right, are like the investigator. And we all need to have investigators in our life. There's nothing wrong. We all need to have that person who's going to question. It's going to ask why and keep digging and digging. And there's nothing that they're great, great people to have in your life. That's number 5. Number 6, the loyalist. The loyalist. They're committed. They're secure. They're engaging. They're responsible. And sometimes they're anxious and suspicious. Even though they're loyal, they do have a tendency of getting anxious and suspicious. Even though they might be loyal to you, they sometimes question themselves as to why. So that's the type of person, but they're very secure, very, very secure in themselves, and they're very committed, and they're very, very grounded. So who in your life is like that? Or maybe it's you. Number 7 is the enthusiast. Woohoo! They're optimistic. They're adventurous. They're always busy, busy, busy. They're always doing something. They're fun-loving. You love to be around them. They're spontaneous. They'll tell you, hey, come on, let's go. Let's take a trip. They think you're going to drop everything and you're just going to go. I mean, that's how they are. They're versatile, but they can be distracted and scatterbrained sometimes because they don't think everything through, all right? Because they are so enthusiastic. They just love, they love getting out there. They love life. Like I said, they're the adventure. They're very adventurous, and they'll take chances. They're the type of person to say, hey, I booked you and we're going to go skydiving. What? Right. So that's the type of, if there's somebody in your life like that, or it's you, okay, now you know a little bit more about you. You're called number 7, the enthusiast. Number 8, the challenger. The challenger. Okay. So we all know we have people in our life, right, that we know that are powerful. They're dominating. They're very self-confident, right? They walk in the room and they command it. They're decisive. They make a decision and that's it. But they're willful and they're very confrontational. So you know what? There's 2 sides to this, okay? Even though they're a challenger, they're a leader, right? They're the protector. Sometimes they can get a little confrontational. So if you have anybody in your life like that, you know that they're number 8 on the Enneagram scale. Say, okay, I know you. I know exactly who you are. You are a number 8. And they'll look at you. Yeah, you're a number 8. You never have to tell them why. But you know that they're a number 8. Number 9. The peacemaker. We all have peacemakers in our lives, right? We all need to be peacemakers. And I think all of us need to have a little bit of number 9 in our life. It's important to have that easygoing way, and we're receptive, and we're reassuring, and we're agreeable and complacent. We're calm. We like to put out fires. We like to make sure everything's okay. I have a dear friend of mine that I met. I'm also a trained mediator through Clark County Neighborhood Justice Center, and I met my dear friend Wes Miller. We both actually came into the program, I believe, around the same time. We're going back about 11 years ago. And what I like about him is he is the picture of number 9. I mean, he is the type of person, when we used to mediate and we would have people, he would just sit there very calmly. And then he would say, well, now have you thought about this? Or I understand that you're very passionate about this, but have you, overcome this? And he would be the type of person, definitely a number 9. But we all need to be a number 9. Now, what's great about this test, okay, is, again, like I said, you don't have to be a 1 or a 3 dedicated to that. But it gets to know that sometimes you could be a number 1 and then you could be a number 4 on the spectrum. But what's wonderful about the test, and like I said about the 5 languages of love test, this is great if you pick up the book and read about it, or maybe listen to the podcast like I do. Every day I'm listening to a different number. And every day I change the number that I am, because it depends upon the mood that I'm in. But really what's great about this test is you can use this in your life, because this gives you a better gauge to understand, first of all, maybe the person in your life that you love, that you're romantically involved with. This gives you a gauge with your children, maybe your parents, right? People around you. And also, this is a great tool to have if you're a leader or if you're looking to work your way up in business. Then, because you want to have a firm grasp of being able to lead people. But when you lead people, you have to sort of know what their language is and what the type of person they are, and how you're able to lead them by feeding them the right communication. So between the 5 love languages and the Enneagram test, you're on your way to being powerful because you are so insightful and you know exactly what you're going to do. Oh, my time is almost up. So I wanted to thank you so much for your time tonight. And remember last week I said I want to sham you? Remember what sham means. If you have a special event coming up and I'm not busy, please DM me. I'll show up. Now, this is only in Las Vegas. I want you to know. If I'm not performing a wedding, if I'm not teaching a class about dating or talking about reigniting the passion in your relationship, I'll come to you. If it's an event, a special birthday, if it's an anniversary, right? If it's a baby, you're going to have a birth of a baby, let me know. I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring you some goodies. I'm going to take some pictures. I'm going to feature you on my social media because I love hearing about love. I love that people spend the time to foster relationships because, we are all wired for connection. We're not made to live in solitary confinement. That's why this whole social distancing that happened was difficult. It was difficult for a lot of people. And maybe some of us are still having a little bit of difficulty coming out of the social distancing. We all want to know that we have a tribe out there because a tribe protects us. So if you have a special event, seriously, no charge. This is what I want to do. I want to hear about how happy you are and how that day is special. And if I can make it even more special, I would love to be there with you because that's my passion. I love love. I am that type of person. If there's any way I can help you, listen, also DM me. If you have a question about your dating life, your love life, I'd love to hear about it. And next week, we are going to talk a little bit about dating and first dates, because first dates, some people say they've had bad first dates. Let me tell you something. There's no bad first dates. There's a story behind a first date. Remember that. So have a great week, everybody. And remember, I'm with you. I'm side by side. I love you. Go out and have an open mind, an open heart. Be peaceful, be happy, and spread love. Bye.